Legalization.net. Arguing for the end of adult marijuana prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It is even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more in this edition of Drug War Data Mining. Welcome back, everyone. 22 minutes after the hour, and today in the Drug War Data Mining, we're going to take a little more look at the results of marijuana election night 2014, the body blow to prohibition that's leaving it staggering. And just to put the lie to some of the stuff the prohibitionists are saying out there, and you'll hear more about this in the Radical Rant at the end of the show, but here is the data behind the Radical Rant. I have gone and gathered from the Secretary of State's office in numerous states all of the results from every marijuana election vote that was held in America, and calculated and entered all of the raw voting numbers to find out just exactly how much America supported marijuana legalization this year. Now, this is including the statewide votes in Alaska, California, Oregon, and Florida, as well as Washington, D.C., Guam, the district and the territory as well, and the local votes that were held in Maine, New Mexico, Michigan, Massachusetts, Colorado, and California. And running through these results, as we get down to the bottom in the summary lines here, now there were two votes I was unable to get before press time, and that was in Silverton, Colorado, so keep that in mind. But as we move down to the very bottom, we find that marijuana in the election this year got 56.74% of the vote nationwide. That's every election, every vote that we're talking about, 56.74. Now, if that's just based on the votes themselves, the number of votes that each for and against. So, of course, a city vote in Silverton isn't going to be as much as a state vote in Alaska. But even if we take hold on, let me get rid of a couple of those zeros that we can't use. Even if we take just the average of the votes, the average came out to 48.67. Still pretty good when we're considering all those anti-dispensary votes and pot shop votes and so forth that were taking place in the election. I also thought it would be interesting to break things down and to see how we fared in the statewide elections. If we take out all of these local elections in Excel and just leave us the state, D.C., Guam, and all those elections, even including medical marijuana, what we find is that marijuana got 57.39% of the vote on election day, with margins ranging from 4% in Alaska, 5% in Washington on their tax issue, all the way up to 39% margin in Washington, D.C. that passed its legalization at 69.45%. Now, if we want to get even more specific and just look at the votes for legalization in this most recent election, legalization votes came out at 56.74%. That's not an average of the percentages, folks. That's counting the total votes and doing the division. So the total votes in Alaska, Oregon, and Washington, D.C. work out to 56.74%. I can expand that column and give you the actual numbers of the votes, where we had 983,000 people voting in favor of legalization in this country versus 750,000 voting against legalization in this country. And the results for medical marijuana are also very revealing. Comparing Guam and Florida, medical marijuana came out with 57.57% of the vote, almost 58% of the vote for medical marijuana in the most recent election. So any evaluation of this election that does not show this to be an absolute slam dunk, knocked out of the park, touchdown, whatever you want to call it, whatever sports metaphor, would be inaccurate if it did not show that we had sincerely won this election. Even breaking down the local elections, if we look at just California, in California, while there were many places that voted against, voted to have bans of dispensaries or voted to increase marijuana taxes and so forth, the votes on our side still came out at 57.2% on our side, 57.2% in favor. Looking in Colorado, we can get some more information. It was worse in Colorado because they didn't have a statewide vote. In Colorado, the votes came down to 41.64%. And these are all local votes, mostly talking about taxing marijuana. And that's where, I characterize that if it went against us that we lost. But a marijuana tax, depending on the tax, might be a good thing because it's helping the community. But any way you look at the data,